Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. You know that whole idea that the narcissist always wears two masks? What if they don't and they always have one? Let's take that on. Welcome back to this channel on narcissism and healing from these relationships and understanding them. But this goes to a question I got from someone who said, my narcissist doesn't have two masks. I think they just have one. They always behave badly. Now, one of what we often think of, and it often is a hallmark quality of the narcissistic person, is the two masks. One mask when they are in public. They're being seen by other people. It's their way of looking good to the world and keep getting narcissistic supply. I have to tell you, this is many, if not most, narcissistic folks. And it makes narcissistic relationships so much more complicated and make it really difficult for people who are in these relationships who keep hearing, oh, what a great person you're in a relationship with, that they are in a relationship with someone who's great, or that their parent is the best, or that their business colleague is a pillar of the profession. But it's not always like this. And so it's not always that they treat you badly in private and behave well in public. Sometimes the narcissistic person doesn't really bother with the masks in public. They're just mean and badly behaved all the time. You might be wondering, how did I luck into this? Well, one factor underlying this is impulsivity. The more impulsive the narcissistic person is, the more likely you will see them behaving badly in private and in public. Now, this can be embarrassing for you if you are having to sit there and watch them berate friends, family, innocent bystanders, unfortunate restaurant servers, hotel clerks, bartenders, anybody. Many survivors would say that in addition to the usual fallout of narcissistic abuse, there was also that horrible feeling of humiliation that would come from being associated with someone behaving in a manner that they themselves never would behave, and either feeling the need to clean up the messes that the narcissistic person would leave behind them, or sit in shame as other people would look at them and say, well, why are you with this person? And as being part of the problem. Now, another issue that may make it that the narcissistic person is a one-mask person, if you will, is if they're very oppositional. The more oppositional they are, the whole, you can't make me do this, I don't have to listen to you, I have rights, you can't take away my rights, those folks tend to behave badly in both public and private. The more oppositional, the more likely you're dealing with a one-masker. Now, the grandiose narcissistic folks are the ones that are best with the whole two-mask thing. Mask on in public, mask off in private. And they're much more skilled in the grandiose defenses. They're just better at getting validation. They sort of get what looks good in public. But the narcissism means that the contempt that they have for people who are easy supply, which is you, means they'll take the mask off and then they'll go off on you. Now, this is the group that is less likely to ever look bad in public, the grandiose narcissistic people. And it's kind of similar with the self-righteous narcissistic folks who tend to be kind of over-controlled all the time anyhow. So it's more that they're sort of cold and clipped all the time. They're less likely to be reactive in public, but they may always be judgmental of everyone anytime. Now, the communal narcissistic folks are very good at looking like humanitarians in public and looking like they deeply care about causes and issues. They may be slightly snippy with a waiter or something, but by and large, they're great at the public masks. But when we veer into talking about more vulnerable narcissistic folks, the victimized, sullen, resentful, aggrieved, anxious, angry, failure to launch narcissistic folks, or the more malignant narcissistic folks, the menacing, exploitative, rageful, coercive, then the two masks aren't always at play. For the vulnerable narcissistic folks, they feel entitled to validation that isn't coming. So they stay in their victimized, why doesn't everyone think I'm great mindset, and as a result, aren't that good at getting validation. While the malignant folks, they get their validation through maintaining power, dominance, and control. And so being a menacing, scary person in public would get them that as well. However, because our conception of narcissism is of this person who's able to take their mask on and off, the Jekyll and Hyde, it may confuse you if you're someone who's in a relationship with a narcissistic person who's badly behaved all the time, public or private. The other thing we do see is that with all narcissistic people, that if they're facing enough stress, disappointment, lack of supply, or a sense of threat in their lives, that they'll show that manipulative, rageful face in all situations. If you are someone who's in a relationship with a narcissistic person who always behaves badly, it's just as bad. Sure, maybe more of the world may feel bad for you more of the time. They might say, wow, your parent, partner, spouse, family member, friend, boss, whatever it is, fill in the blank, is a horrible person. I feel really bad for you. That may leave you feeling a little less crazy. I mean, one pattern I have observed is that the more universally abusive narcissistic folks, the one mask folks, may also be a little bit more isolated and isolating. So they cut you off from the world. Less people then will see you and who you're stuck with. And perhaps the people who work with the narcissist, like when they go to the work, sees how they are. But you may not meet those people. So it really just may end you up more isolated than most people in these relationships. We want narcissism to be an easily identifiable personality style. It's not. The subtypes mean that different people experiencing narcissistic abuse are often having very different experiences. And it's tough all around, regardless of whether the narcissistic person has a very distant persona or is treating people badly all the time. The key to remember that regardless of what it looks like, narcissism and the patterns of these relationships takes a toll on you. And to remember that there's a lot of variability in this thing called narcissism. But at the core of it, these are relationships with someone who invalidates you and will always put themselves first. So for those of you, and this was in response to a specific question where someone said, I'm in a relationship with someone who's always like this. Am I reading it wrong? You're not reading it wrong at all. It definitely can be this way. Like I said, more in the vulnerable, malignant space. No matter what, it's taking a toll on you. And if anything, there might even be a greater risk that you're more isolated and other people may not witness it as much. But regardless of how many masks they have, 1, 2, or 10, this kind of relationship will take a toll on you. Hope that's helpful, and thanks again.